Pokemon Surging Sparks has went through the roof. It's at $250 per booster box, which is crazy because the set is just a couple months old. But inside the set, you have very valuable cards like the Pikachu alternate art that's going for just under $500 per card. You have other cards like the Latios EX alternate art for $250, the Milotic EX going for $135, the Pikachu EX going also for $135, and then you have other cards like the Hydreigon EX, the Alolan Executor EX, and so on. The point is that this set is absolutely stacked full of hits, including the biggest chase card of them all, which is the Pikachu EX alternate art. That card is looking like the most expensive card in all of Scarlet and Violet, and it could potentially turn into a Moonbrown type situation in the future going forwards. It just depends on how well the set performs in the future and what other sets come out in Scarlet and Violet to round out this era. But the really interesting part that we're talking about today in this video is the rapid price appreciation of the booster boxes. Like I said, the booster boxes are going for $250 per booster box, and this is interesting because the booster box prices were kind of stuck at $210 to $220 for the longest time. About 4 weeks to 6 weeks, it was stuck at that price level. But recently, just the past couple days, the price rapidly went up to $250, and it's kind of stalled at $250 now. But the point is that the supply of Surging Sparks, there isn't more coming on the horizon. It's going to take a few more months before there's a full restock of Surging Sparks, if there is one. It still hasn't even been announced, but it's assumed that the Pokemon Company will do some sort of restocking. So if the restocking came in February or maybe even March, Surging Sparks still has a ton of room to run in the meantime. It still has 4, maybe 8 weeks before there's any sort of news around a reprint for Surging Sparks. And in that 4 to 8 weeks, this price could, and I expect it will, get to $300 per booster box. And that's crazy because you have other sets like Sword and Shield sets that are multiple years old that aren't even as expensive as Surging Sparks is. And Sword and Shield is known for its alternate art hits. Like take example, Silver Tempest. The booster boxes for Silver and Tempest go for $210 per booster box these days. And compared to Surging Sparks is $40 more expensive, and Surging Sparks is only just a couple months old. Meanwhile, Silver Tempest is multiple years old. You have other sets like Lost Origin, which is an amazing set, and Fusion Strike, which is also an amazing set. And yes, those prices have moved up as well to $300, and then Fusion Strike up to about $460. And they've earned it because they're great sets, and they're multiple years old. But the amount of hype behind Surging Sparks is just so immense that the price has rapidly moved up to $250, and with no extra supply coming in the near future, this price has the potential to overtake other sets like Lost Origin and Fusion Strike possibly. It really depends on how bad it gets, if Pokemon Company decides to do a reprint or not, because they have their own issues going on right now with massive demand around Prismatic Evolutions, massive demand around Surging Sparks, and they also are getting ready to print the other future Scarlet and Violet sets. They can't reprint everything, and some things just won't get a reprint. I do expect that Surging Sparks will get some sort of reprint. It just won't be as big as probably most people are expecting. And if and when that reprint does happen for Surging Sparks, the price is not going to substantially drop for the booster boxes. I could see a 30% drop. I could see maybe even a 40% drop in the price of the booster boxes. Let's even work with the hypothetical of a 50% drop. If it dropped 50% from $250 per booster box to $125 per booster box today, then that would still be a great price to buy it at, $125. If it dropped to $150, great price to buy it at. I think anything under $200 for Surging Sparks is a great pickup because the set is so loved. It's going to turn out to be one of the better sets inside of Scarlet and Violet. With the close of Scarlet and Violet being that there's only about 4 more main sets to come out in this era, and that there has been already 8 sets released, we're 2/3 the way through Scarlet and Violet, you can actually start to choose which sets you are going to think will stand the test of time, and I think Surging Sparks will be that one. Because even if the next 4 sets are better than Surging Sparks, I think Surging Sparks comes in 5th place. It just is the best set that we've seen in Scarlet and Violet. So it has a ton of potential in the long term. The chases inside of it are just very, very good. And you could even compare it to a set like Fusion Strike, where Fusion Strike isn't a super deep set. The main chase card inside there is the Gengar VMAX alternate art, and you have other hits too, like the Mew V and also the Mew VMAX alternate art. But the main hit inside there is the Gengar, and the Gengar pretty much carries the set. And even with Gengar carrying the set pretty much by himself, the booster box prices for Fusion Strike are $460. Now compare that to Surging Sparks, and Surging Sparks has other cards inside the set as well, like the Latias EX, like the Milotic EX. The other cards inside the set are absolutely stunning. The Hydreigon EX, that is an $86 card, and that is one of the coolest cards. It has a rainbow border, and it's a dragon-type Pokemon with just a beautiful artwork. The point is that the rapid price appreciation for Surging Sparks is due to the supply and demand factors. Yes, the hype, yes, of course, but also it's just a very good set. Underneath all of this hype and all of the supply and demand dynamics that are happening with Surging Sparks is that it is actually a good set. It's not like it's a bad set and people are overhyping the set, and that none of the price appreciation is justified at all. Some of it is justified. It just is that good of a set. Pikachu, other than Charizard, Pikachu is probably the other most beloved Pokemon in the entirety of Pokemon. So to get the first ever alternate art card in this era, in Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield, to get the first ever Pikachu EX alternate art inside the set, it's going to be a big deal. Just look at the past with Vivid Voltage. When that Chonkachu came out, it was the biggest card in all of Pokemon for a few months. And yes, Vivid Voltage is not the best comparison for this set. They just don't really compare, and a lot of people do try to draw that comparison, and I'm not trying to draw the comparison between the sets. I'm just saying that Pikachu is a beloved Pokemon, as you saw in Vivid Voltage. And you're seeing it right now inside Surging Sparks as well. But the difference here is that the artwork and the card is just so much better inside Surging Sparks. So that's the only comparison here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where Surging Sparks goes in terms of its booster box value. If you did get your hands on Surging Sparks for under $200 per booster box, then that is a fantastic price. If you were looking to hold for the long term, I think that that is probably the best price you're going to get, because, you know, if we did get a reprint or restock, whatever you want to call it, it's going to drop the price, yes, but it's going to only drop it for a very short period of time, and it's going to be bought up immediately. So yeah, I would just, you know, hold on for the ride and see where Surging Sparks takes us into the future. That's my own personal opinion. But yeah, obviously do what you want with your product. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe for more. Thanks. See you later.